Awesome. Welcome everybody. Sarah Barker, Emily Barna, live at the XND headquarters, and we're so excited to not only be in like the same vicinity as each other, but here together at the home office of our awesome XND company. So we're going to be starting our yoga practice standing today. So find a comfortable spot on your mat, and we're going to make sure you guys can hear me okay, I'm assuming. If not, somebody wave their hands really crazy because we can see you from here. So, all right, so if there are any things that you need to modify today, I'll try to give options pretty often through the class so that you can, take those options if you need them. But just to listen to your body, whatever you need to do today, and do that. So we're going to find some space on the floor and just spread your toes out as wide as you can, like you're trying to grip the floor with your feet. And then just roll your shoulders up and back into what in the fitness world we call a set position. But then I want you to just relax your core a little bit. You don't actually have to tighten your core right now because we want to tip our hips completely neutral. So if you have a natural arch in your back, it may cause you to kind of curl that tailbone back a little bit, or you may be slouched, but just try to neutralize that a little bit as if your pelvis is a bowl of water and you're not spilling any. So we're standing with hands open in Tadasana. It helps me to close my eyes here to just kind of come into my body. And taking some full, big belly breaths. So we can call this box breathing, but you're inhaling for slow counts and then holding at the top, and then exhaling slow. And just doing that a couple of times on your own as we kind of check into our body. So it's super tricky if you are go, go, go all the time to even think about your breathing, much less slow it down. So this just kind of gives us the opportunity to be really purposeful with that breath. If you feel your belly coming in when you inhale, see if you can change it to inflating on your inhale. So it's almost like the opposite of a balloon. As we inhale, we're filling up the belly with air. And then as you exhale, letting that air come back out of your belly. So maybe now would be a good time to take a moment to set our intention for our practice today. Maybe it's something very simple like, I am strong, I'm at peace, or maybe it's just a word of resolve that comes to mind, like strength, or maybe just breathe. Sometimes we also have to give ourselves permission to give our bodies grace if maybe we're rehabbing an injury, or we're sore, or we're tight, or maybe we don't feel like we're strong in certain poses or strong in certain stretches, but we want to give ourselves grace, taking all of the judgment of ourselves or of others and just letting it go, especially the judgment of ourselves. I think that one's pretty tricky to overcome. Let's just take another breath or two here. So next we're going to just take both hands out of Tadasana, bring all the way up to an extended mountain pose. Little baby back bend here, just kind of arch in the back, opening up that heart center, and then bringing the hands back down. And then we're going to do that same thing with just the right hand. So bringing that right hand all the way up and lifting your middle finger up towards the ceiling, pressing into your right foot. So you've got that dynamic resistance coming all through your ribs, and then bringing it down. Same thing with the left side, bringing it all the way up. Pressing down into that foot and lengthening through that middle finger so that you can feel those ribs actually expand, and then bringing it back down. So taking one more deep breath in, both hands come up. And as we exhale, this time we're going to swan dive all the way down to the floor. And I'm going to turn sideways so I can still see you guys and hear a little bit. And I want you to just drop the crown of your head towards the floor in your forward fold. Knees are softly bent here. They're not tight. They're not locked. We want our chin to our chest, so locking that neck in Vishuddha Bandha. So you throat lock there, eyeballs are to the knees. And then let's take a deep breath in. We're just going to kind of lift the chest, the fingers stay on the floor into a half lift. So again, knees are soft here, but your backs of your legs definitely should not be feeling soft. You're waking up a little bit, and then back down into a forward fold. And then this time we're going to bend the knees a lot as we reverse swan dive all the way to the top. Bring it all the way up. and then swan dive back down. So this time when we come down forward fold, we're going to go straight into that half lift. So inhale, coming up to half lift. Maybe you want to brace your hands on your shins for monkey, pressing the legs away from the arms, long, flat back. And then back down into that forward fold. Deep breath in here, bending the knees a lot, bending the knees and bring your hands up to chair pose. Hands can come out front, or you can come here at heart center with that prayer pose. You can even brace yourselves on your legs if you're not feeling that low squat today. So let's just kind of check into those feet. Maybe rocking into the balls of the feet, into the heels, setting back into the heels. Maybe you want to come up to balancing chair, bringing it up onto the toes, warming up those quads a little bit. And then deep breath in. Last time, moving all the way back up. Hopefully you're feeling warm. It's 700 degrees in here in this gym, so we're definitely sweating already. All right, so spreading out your fingers to the top of your mat if you're on one, and then stepping back with the feet into our downward facing dog. So remember, downward facing dog, your face is coming to your biceps, maybe even below, and your heels are pressing into the floor. We're lifting that tailbone up towards the ceiling, almost like you're curling your tailbone up. We're going to also press our chest towards our feet, so it almost should feel like your back is bending down towards the knees. So let's take a couple of deep breaths here, filling up the back body, opening up those ribs in the back. And then maybe let's get our obliques a little warm today. We're going to bring the knee into the chest, just kind of come into that high plank position, and then back into the down dog. Same thing on the other side, coming in. Knee comes into the chest. Now, if you have a tendency to hyperextend your elbows like I do, try to keep your elbows just a little bit soft so that you're not locking them out and putting pressure on that joint there. All right, maybe if you're really feeling like you want to get a little warmer today, we're going to bring the knees in, and then as you come back into down dog, let's lift it up to three-legged dog, and then bring that foot back down. Same thing with the other side, just taking your time, taking your own pace. You can go slower than me, you can go faster, whatever feels good. But definitely getting the core a little warmer here. And when you've restored balance to your body, so you've done an even amount on both sides, we'll move back in downward facing dog. Just kind of walk those legs out a little bit. All right, so before we get started with our flow today, we're going to make sure our back is nice and warm by dropping our knees towards the floor, bringing our hands underneath the shoulders, so you're perfectly squared. And are all black. We're kind of like blending into the background here, so it's a good thing I haven't really seen the sun lately, so hopefully they'll stand out. All right, so we're going to rock our tailbone towards the ceiling. Belly button is going to come down towards the floor into our big cow pose, so lifting up the throat, and then rolling the hips underneath. So tucking your tail between your legs and taking the spine, especially the thoracic spine, it should be like rounding up the highest, and then back down into that cow. Big inhale, filling up that belly, and then rounding it out. So our back is so multifunctional, multi-directional. The spine moves in all the different directions. We're going to make sure we warm up all of those directions. So after you've gone up and down the same amount of times, we're going to go wag the tail. So we're going to actually take the hips and lean them around like you're trying to look over your shoulder and bring your hips around. Making sure that our elbows aren't locked again, and also that our shoulders are away from the ears. Sometimes we start to kind of sag into the shoulders, so make sure you keep that active, long spine. So we're just kind of going from right to left with the lumbar spine. So you want to feel like, kind of like a, one of those like cat clocks, you know what I mean, with the tail as the pendulum, and it's just kind of swinging back and forth. So you want to get that big twist there. And then lastly, we'll do our barrel rolls, which are also for all the different directions of the spine. So it's kind of a fun move to do. A little bit better if it's dramatic. So you really want to make sure that the spine is going in different directions. And then once you've done a couple of those in one direction, go in the other direction. This is always my favorite one to do for my CrossFit people because it always makes everyone giggle. They're like, I feel so funny, guys. And I'm like, and you should. It's a great move. All right, so back into those all fours, pushing those shoulders away from the ears. So we're back in that neutral spine. We're gonna get the shoulder a little warm, so we're gonna thread the needle. Whichever side you wanna do, just gonna snake that arm all the way underneath and drop the shoulder and the head to the floor. And this may be enough for today. You may already be feeling this across the back of your shoulders. You can walk that opposite arm out. You can bring it up and just look up towards that hand. If you're a binder and you want to bring it down to that inner thigh, and just rotate a little more. Sometimes that extra rotation, you're going to feel it in that rear delt and that trap a little bit more. Just whatever feels good right now, make sure you get that stretch. And also we're twisting, so it's extra important to be breathing. And then coming back out the way we went in, and we're going to go to the opposite side. So I say that about the twisting because in twists, I tend to hold my breath. So I like to make sure we all remember that breath. So opening up that shoulder, using the weight of that upper arm to really stretch back. Get that deep side stretch in there. Big shoulder stretch. Get one full breath here, and then we'll come back out of it. And we're gonna just step back into child's pose for just a second. So this is your time to chill for a second, maybe round out that lower back. I've got some tightness in my lower back today, so my child's poses are gonna be feeling really good. So if you need water, if you need your hydro, like whatever you need. Oh yes, we've got our partner in crime over here with our super cool SheMoves swag. A little shameless plug here. Oh, it is nice and cold. Thank you. I'm so excited about that. This is so warm in here. All right, so grabbing what you need and then coming back into our all fours. We're going to push off the toes into our downward facing dog, lifting the tailbone up. Maybe adjust a little bit to where you really feel the backs of your legs engaging. And then just a soft bend in those knees. We're going to come into our plank flow today. So we're going to come forward into a high plank. You can stay in the high plank here, or you can come in the modification. I'm going to show you the modification for the first round into the knees. And then we're going to come halfway down to crocodile. So coming down into chaturanga, you don't want to go too far. It's not a tricep push-up. But if you are staying here and going into upward dog, you can go ahead and go. Otherwise, we're going to drop to the floor and lift up to a baby cobra. So this is your modification if you need it. And then pushing back either into our child's pose or downward facing dog. Depends on how active you want to make that move. So next up, we're going to start over and do that again together, and then we'll add to it. So we're coming to our high plank, inhaling, and then exhaling to chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog, knees are off the floor, thighs are off the floor, toes curl under, exhale to down dog. Taking our right leg, we're going to sweep it all the way up towards the ceiling and come towards the hands with that leg, dropping that back knee to the floor and coming up into our kneeling crescent lunge. So sweeping the hands back down, pushing back into that downward facing dog. This time the opposite leg is going to come up, sweeping towards the ceiling, coming all the way to the hands, dropping that back knee if you want to. You can keep it up next time if you want, and then lifting up the crescent lunge. And then sweeping back down. So from here, we're going back to downward dog and then into our flow once again. So coming forward to plank, inhale, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. And then this time we're going to come back out with that right leg starting first, coming forward. If you want to keep your knee off the floor this time, I challenge you to your balancing crescent lunge. Lifting up. Maybe if you want to add a little twist here, come across the front of the body. Open up that side body. The sweat is real at this point. Bring it back up. We're doing hot yoga if y'all didn't know here. And then come back down, push back into downward facing dog. Let's come forward to plank. Exhale, crocodile. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. What up? Opposite side is going to sweep up this time, coming forward, keeping that back knee lifted if you like. You can drop it if you want. Balancing crescent lunge. And rotating into that twist if you want. If you're feeling the twist today, go for it. My lower back is getting all the love today. All right, bringing it right back up, sweeping it down. We're going to go through that plank flow one more time. Deep breath in, coming forward. And halfway to crocodile. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. You should be nice and warm. Definitely over here. All right, so we're gonna take that right leg. So we're gonna take the leg that's farthest away from you guys. You guys just take that leg, bring it all the way up to the ceiling. Stack your hips a little bit, maybe bending the knee, rotating your ankle, getting a little snap, crackle, and pops out of there. And we're gonna take that leg, we're gonna bring it all the way forward, hinging at the ankles. We're gonna put both feet flat on the floor, and then come up to our warrior one. So for warrior one, remember your parking lights face the same direction as your headlights. So we've got everything one direction. Pushing into that front leg, barely seeing that big toe, if at all. And a couple of breaths here. All right, now we're gonna open it up into warrior two. So maybe if you need to shift your feet, you can. Making your body flat, like you're placing your body between two panes of glass. So it's flat hips in the front, shoulders are pulling back and together. And then if you can look towards that front hand, look towards that hand. I've got limited neck mobility, so this is about as far as I can go. And then I want you to activate your Mula Bandha. So that's the base of the pelvic floor. It's going to strengthen our stance here. It's as if you're lifting up on the base of your pelvic floor, squeezing those inner thighs as if you're trying to pull them together in your mind. Take a deep breath in, open that front hand, reach forward, and then sweep back, reverse warrior. So lifting that hand, opening up the side body, ribs are expanding and opening up. Breathing, of course. Front leg is still active. Maybe even starting to burn a little bit. Opening it back up to warrior two. Good. All right, we're going to take that elbow on that forearm and drop it down to that front leg, lifting this hand up high. If you will, take a second to take this top hip and just kind of sink it down towards the floor a little bit. So this is modified angel pose. You can stay here. Maybe for today this is plenty. If you want to go further, you can take that hand down, opening up that whole side body, looking up at that hand. Binders, this is where you go. You can kick that hand to the bottom, bring the opposite hand up underneath. Bind it if you want. If not, stay where you are, whatever level feels good today. All right, we're going to bring it back to the knee, and then coming back up into that warrior two and straighten out that front leg. It should feel like sweet relief when your leg came out of that bend. So this time we're going to hinge at this hip right here. We're going to push the opposite hip away and lean forward and come down into triangle pose. So for triangle, we're pressing the back of the hand into the side of the leg so that you can open up that shoulder. Maybe with each breath, we can go a little further. You might also want to prop yourself up on your shin. Give yourself a little kickstand there. And with every exhale, allow the body to kind of sink into that breath. So maybe you go a little lower, maybe you don't. Maybe we come all the way down into that triangle pose to the floor. All right, deep breath in. We're going to come all the way back up to standing. And we're going to turn the feet towards the front. Really good, really hot. Take a deep breath in, hands come all the way up. We're gonna bring those elbows into moonflowers. So we're gonna bring them in into a giant like sumo squat, and then bring them back up to 5-point star. Squeezing your glutes, squeezing your shoulder blades together, bringing it down into moonflowers, and then all the way up to that 5-point star. One more time, coming down, and bringing it back up. Awesome. Okay, this time we're going to bring the hands all the way down, low towards the floor, hinging at the waist, and then we're coming into a straddle forward fold. So it's just like the regular forward fold. Your legs are just spread, taking the crown of our head towards the floor, chin is towards the chest. And if your hands are touching the floor, which they probably are, you want to just drop your shoulders. Allow your shoulders to become the weight that's pulling you down to the floor. Take about 2 more breaths here. All right, so we are going to walk our hands towards the opposite end of our mat so that our back leg is now our front leg. Anchoring both feet into the floor, and then we're going to come up into warrior one. So lifting the chest, both hip bones and armpits are all facing the same direction, sinking into that leg in the front. You want to see if you can cover up your big toe with your knee. If you can't, if you can still see just the tip of your big toe, that's fine. We just don't want to, we don't want to go over that toe. All right, deep breath in, opening it all the way up to our warrior two. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, kind of drawing the pinkies back a little bit. Activating Mula Bandha, lifting up on that pelvic floor so that the base of your warrior pose is super strong. Looking over that front hand. All right, we're going to reach open hand towards the front and then come back into that reverse warrior or exalted warrior, whatever you want to call it. The back hand is just chilling. Top hand is lifting. We're opening up the side body towards the sky. All right, after that last big breath, we're coming back into warrior two. We're going to come into our angle pose. So sinking the elbow into the quad, opening up that arm, taking that top hip and just letting it come down a little bit. Really feeling this in your inner thighs. The pose should not feel easy, even if you're modifying it. But if you want more, we're going to take it down a little bit. Opening up that arm, dropping that hip. If you want to bind it, we bring that arm down, under, and grab. One more deep breath here, guys. Coming up into that modification, bring it back. I almost couldn't get there fast enough to straighten that front leg. A little bit rushed there, sorry. Legs are just like shaking. Plus I'm having to like rip this mat with my sweaty hands. All right, so we're gonna come forward, hip comes back into a triangle. The back of the hand presses into the inner calf, or you could prop yourself on that shin for a little support. And this is where we just kind of play with that breath. So when we inhale, we lift the body. When we exhale, we allow it to sink a little bit further. Your body will tell you whether or not you can go further. You may stop at one point and be done, and that's okay. Remember that top shoulder, it's going to want to come forward like Mom's trying to do, but we're going to open it up a little bit more. All right, hinging at the waist, we're going to come all the way back up using our core muscles. And then we're going to bring our feet in, and we're just going to kind of shake all that out. Warrior poses, check. We're done with those for now. All right, so grab a quick sip of water. We're going to do some balance today. Well, in the life of a woman, it's all about balance. And balance doesn't mean that everything gets equal amount of attention or time or energy. We have to decide what's worth our energy and our time. So it's not all about balance as in scales that have to be balanced, but balancing everything that we've got and keeping those things in line with our priorities. So balance for yoga today, we're going to start off with tree pose. It's my favorite. It's easy. It's something we can all do. So we're going to take that right foot, place it into the floor, soft bend of the knee, and your left foot can go anywhere on your leg that you want except for your knee. There's a little shelf there in your knee. I think it takes like somewhere between 6 and 9 pounds of pressure to completely blow out your meniscus or your ACL. So we're going to maybe not do that. So pressing our foot anywhere on that leg that you want it to go. And then finding your balance. We need a focal point with the eyes. The core is solid here. Bottom leg is bent. If you're struggling with balance today as far as staying upright, your hands can come out. This helps me when I'm having an off balance day. Or you can bring your hands at Anahata Mudra. So we've got our nice little prayer pose here. So your focal point is anywhere between 5 and 6 feet away from you where you can see something that's not moving, just a spot on the floor maybe. Take a deep breath in here, and if we want to extend our tree tall, we're going to bring those hands all the way up, opening up the chest, lifting the heart center, breathing. Excellent. Without bringing that leg down, we're going to transition into our staff pose. So first we're going to bring the knee forward, grabbing underneath the knee, and maybe just finding a range of motion here. You do have to lean back a little bit. Trust your body. You can trust that your body's going to balance you. And just find that range of motion. And when you've found a good height for your leg, we're going to come out, we're going to hold that leg. You can either bring the hands up or back. Nice and good. And then we're going to bring that knee in. So this time you either have an option to grab the knee, or you can peace-sign, grab your big toe, opening up that leg to the outside. And you can either stay here. If this is a significant amount of balance for you, no worries, just stay here. If you want to extend that leg out, you can extend it, you can hang out, you can make up your own, whatever you want to do, finding that balance. And then when you're ready, we'll slowly bring that back in, bring the knee in, and let it down. So always restoring balance to the body. Left foot's going to press into the floor, and then we're going to find that point of the leg for our balance. So a lot of times if you're feeling the need to keep that foot grounded on the floor, that's fine. Trust that your body knows that today. You can come into your calf, you can bring it all the way in. You can even cross your leg in front of your knee if that's great for you as far as your level of balance. So hands can come out for balance or they can come in a prayer pose. Once you've had a couple breaths there, just exhale, hands come all the way up, standing that tree tall. And I always like to say it's okay for you to wobble here. It's okay for you to move a little bit. Even trees blow in the breeze, that's a thing. So you can move. You can even fall over. If you never fall over, you never do yoga. So it's like face planting is a real thing. You'll be fine. All right, so we're going to be bringing that leg into the front of our body, grabbing the back of the knee. And you can bring both hands in there and just kind of open and shut that leg, finding that balance, finding that range of motion there. I'm struggling with on this side, a little off balance today on this one. And when you're ready, you can hold that balancing staff pose, holding it out. When we bring that leg in, you have the option to grab the leg itself, or you can grab those big toes, opening up that leg to the side, trusting that your body is not always symmetrical. So one side could be great today, and the other side, it might be struggling a little bit. So listen to your body. Maybe you can extend it, maybe not. It's always a gamble on this side for me. It's like the other side for me. Everybody has like their one bendy side. All right, and then when you're ready, bringing it in, and then shaking those legs and arms out a little bit. And because we're not symmetrical, like we're not symmetrical beings, there is a side that's stronger, there's a side that's easier to balance. We just have to listen to what that is for us. So taking a deep breath here, hands are gonna come all the way up. Let's just come up on our tiptoes for just a second. And then we're gonna bring those hands down. So we're gonna do just a real quick Tai Chi stress reliever before we move on to the floor. Because you guys are at home, you can do this as loud and as weirdly as you want. Because we're here, it's probably going to be a little less, like, it's going to sound kind of funny, but we're going to breathe really audibly. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the hands all the way up like we're grabbing some stress off the top shelf. Toes come, or heels come off the floor. Taking a deep breath in, and when we release the breath, it's going to look like this. We're just going to go and just like blow it out really hard. So taking a deep breath in, grabbing that stress or whatever you've got, and just throw it down. Just do it one more time. It does. It feels like you're just like slamming whatever you're dealing with, whatever it is, you just slammed it on the floor. It's done. All right, so we're going to come back down to our forward fold into a downward dog. So taking that body all the way down, stepping out the feet, pressing the hands away from the body. By now, your downward dog should feel a little different than it did at the beginning of the class. Your tailbone should be poking a little higher. Your heels maybe a little closer to the floor. That's so funny. All right, so we're going to go into our pigeon pose today. Now, pigeon is a very intense pose that doesn't look like it would be if done correctly. So we're going to take our right leg, sweep it up and back towards the ceiling, and then sweep that leg towards the hands. pressing the leg away from your body. So you don't want your foot underneath you. Ideally, it'd be cool if it was parallel, like your shin was parallel to the top of your mat. Mine doesn't quite get there. And if you're like me and I've got a locked hip here, I'm starting to kind of lean over to my bent side, but we want to be really, really straight. So we come up into a straight seated pigeon first. If this bothers you, you can bend the back leg as well and sit down on that front butt cheek. It's fine. That's a modification. You can also do pigeon seated with the leg crossed over your other leg like you're a figure four. And then when you're ready, we'll start walking out the hands, maybe pausing for a breath with the elbows, maybe coming all the way out into an extended pigeon, keeping the pelvic floor off of the mat. So that's our goal here. If it kind of starts sinking towards the mat, that's great, but we don't want to drop our butt. Is the point. So with the breath, we want to control the breath and allow the exhales to come straight through that hip. Maybe one or two more deep sinking breaths. Notice how your hips are feeling. Remembering that the chakra that is housed inside of our pelvic region is attached to our emotions. So sometimes when we avoid poses like this, they're super intense. It's because we're also avoiding some kind of emotion. Also, when people get emotional as in crying in class, it's typically in a hip opener like pigeon, because our bodies have to release that energy. They have to release it somehow. So if that's happening, just breathe through it and just notice how you're feeling. It's very important to acknowledge it. And then when you're ready, we'll start walking those hands back. Toes are going to curl under on that back leg, and then we're going to push back into downward dog. Woo, the hips, oh, the hips. So I can tell that I flew yesterday because the way my hips are extra locked. And if you sit at a desk or if you sit it all during the day, you know exactly what I'm talking about when the hips just start getting real achy. So we're going to take that opposite leg that you did before, bring it all the way to the front, placing it as far forward as you can. The hip is going to sink but not drop. And then we sit up straight and tall to really activate the glutes on the outside. A little bit of that gluteus medius minimus, they're all kind of activating, protecting our hip joint. And then when you're ready, we'll start walking it out. So remember, the breath is super key here. When we have intense poses that are challenging to our bodies, we tend to also hold our breath, kind of like pain. Like when you're in pain, you hold our breath. So make sure you're focusing on the breath and the stretch will come. Get one more big breath in there. Really let it go to the hip. Let that breath sort of just trickle through your body all the way to that hip joint. And then when you're ready, we'll start walking it back up. Hands are pressing into the mat like starfish, big fingers, and then press into that downward dog. Maybe just walking the legs out a little bit, moving your hips from side to side, kind of releasing that stretch. All right, from here, we're going to go ahead and come to our knees, back into our extended child's pose just for a moment. Kind of regroup, reset, grab your water. Checking in on your body. Maybe now would be a good time to come back into that intention statement. Remember your intention statement or your word of resolve. Remind yourself of that. Since every yoga practice is different, sometimes I have to remind myself of my intention 17 times in the class. All right, so we're going to go ahead and come into a seated position. Feet are going to come out in front of us, maybe lifting up on any flesh that's back there so that you can feel your sits bones setting into the floor. But if you feel like you need that cushion, if that's not comfortable for you, you can push the butt back in. But that way we know what we're sitting on. Okay, knees are going to be a little bit soft here. And we're gonna go into a seated forward fold, and it should look like a flat fold rather than a rounding fold. So we want to think about our chest coming towards our knees and our face coming towards our feet instead of just curving into our body. So taking the hands behind the legs and start to kind of use your legs at whatever point you have to stop to pull your upper body flat as you can and putting the belly on your thighs, lifting the chest and coming into that inhale, exhale. Breath. Okay. Stretching. We're working so hard today. Our cameraman also needs the yoga today. So at this point, I want you to feel the back. I want you to think about the lower back, all of the scapular muscles. We're gonna press the chest towards the knees, long spine. So we're not gonna just drop our heads just yet, but taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, see if your body can just sink a little further. Those of you at home, if you have like a strap or a shirt or a sock nearby that you can use to kind of put underneath the soles of your feet to pull, that's an awesome way to get deeper into stretch without having to use your hands on your body. Let's get one last deep breath, and as we exhale, see if you can go just a little further. You're gonna walk out of that forward fold. Our lower back was needing that today. All right, so we're gonna take our right leg and we're gonna just cross it over. And this may be it for you. If this is feeling really good and your hips are real tight, you wanna stay here. Or you can take that other leg and curl it underneath, bringing those knees one on top of the other for cow face pose. So cow face pose, we're stacking the knees. If that's not comfortable for you, you can always come off of that with the top leg a little bit if you'd like. So first we're gonna do a seated twist. So we're taking a deep breath in, and we're gonna twist towards our top leg. So we're gonna press the forearm against that leg and just start kind of twisting the torso. Remembering that twists are important for breathing, but also to go slow so that your organs have time to react inside of your body. Kind of move around a little bit. And then as you inhale and exhale a little bit more, see if you can turn a little bit further and lift up with the crown of your head. So it's almost as if somebody was coming around and lifting you from your jaw towards the ceiling. So sit up as tall as you can. Make sure both booty cheeks are still on the floor. It's not official yoga language. All right, and we're gonna come back around towards the front. We're gonna get into those shoulders a little bit. So again, we don't have straps here today, but if you have something at home to grab, this would be a great time to grab it because we're gonna go over the back of the body. So the leg that's in front, that opposite hand is gonna come towards the ceiling, lifting high and then coming back towards the middle of your shoulder blades, maybe to your neck. And then the opposite hand is gonna come underneath. Maybe you can bind the two, maybe you cannot. If you've got something to grab, this is great to do a grab here so that you can pull into that shoulder stretch. So our goal here is, of course, to touch hands, but if you can't, we're still pulling back on that top arm, stretching through the triceps. The little shoulders stretching on the front. All right, we're going to release the bottom hand first, and then the top hand. And then we're gonna come down to the front one last time. So we're just gonna kind of straddle the leg with your hands, opening up that chest, keeping your butt on the floor. It's almost as if you're looking over the edge of a cliff. Hip openers here, so hips should be feeling something. And then we come back to seated. We're gonna shake those legs out because they go need it. I always feel a stretch, but then I really feel the stretch when I come out of the stretch. All right, so that left leg this time is going to cross over, keeping both sides of the butt on the floor, and either staying here or bringing that bottom leg underneath. Legs are going to stack if possible. Now, if you're noticing that one butt is coming off the floor a lot, then it's because your hips are super tight here. So you want to just either press it towards the floor or accommodate a little bit with that top leg so that you can make sure both butt cheeks are on the floor. So we're going to twist towards the top leg, opening up the chest. It's like, oh, this is so amazing, but terrible at the same time. So with another deep breath, you can come just a hair further, lift a little higher. Think about your spine growing about an inch. And then bring it back in to the front. All right, so that opposite leg, or opposite hand, opposite leg is going to come up and over. The bottom hand is going to stretch underneath. Again, maybe you can touch, maybe you cannot. One little finger is touching. You have amazing delts and biceps like Emily, you're like this. You can't get them to come around. I don't know what she's doing back there, but it's close. I love it. All right, when we release, bottom hand comes first, then the top hand. Push forward one last time. Pressing those hips down as we come forward. And then bringing it back in. All right. So we're going to make our way down to our belly first on the mat, and then we're going to go into our back. So we're going to do a little bit of lower back stretching here. We'll come out into Superman first. So squeezing the glutes, lifting the hands straight ahead, pulling the feet off the floor, knees are off the floor, chest is off the floor. One big breath here, and then release. And then our hands are going to come behind us towards the floor. Palms are in. And this time I want you to just flex your quads and notice what happens. Keep your feet on the floor, flex your quads. Hopefully you feel the knees lift off the floor. So the thighs are still on the floor, the toes are still on the floor. And as you inhale, we're going to keep that flex in the quads, and we're going to come up to locust. So lifting and reaching, it's like you're trying to reach for your feet. And then release. Don't worry, we're going to round the back in a moment. But like I said, I've been flying in my lower back. I did that once yesterday, so my lower back was like, we need some lower back stuff. So we're going to do bow, and we're going to do it twice, so that if you are a one-sided bow, you can get both sides in, okay? So we're going to reach one arm back, grabbing the outside of that ankle where your foot can flex and lock your hand in. So your hand is not touching your foot, your hand is on the ankle. If you're going one-sided, that opposite arm stretches out. If you're going both-sided, you bring that opposite hand back. Heels are going to be lifting, so flexing our feet, deep breath in, lifting up the feet to bow pose. So pulling up on those shoulders. If you want more of a shoulder stretch here, you're pushing the shins away from your body. If you want more of a lower back stretch, you're pushing the heels up higher. And then release. So we'll do it one more time so that if you did one side, you can switch. And this time I want your goal to be to get 3 full breaths while we're up there. So if you want more of a challenge, bring your knees closer together, taking a deep breath in, bringing it up, and breathe in and out 3 times. Your body may rock a little bit, that's okay. Pressing into the shoulders, pressing into that lower back, squeezing the glutes. And when you've done that 3rd breath, you can release all the way into the floor. Hands come towards the chest, and we're going to push up and back into a child's pose. This time, maybe bring in the knees together so that your lower back is forced to round. As you sneak into that child's pose, you can always stack your fists up for wrists if that's if your neck is needing a little help today. Hands can come down beside you, hands can go out in front of you. Lower back needing all the love today. All right, lastly, we're going to take our bodies down to the floor, laying down on your back. Yay. Yay, this is the best part. Should be an interesting Shavasana today. Distractions, but it's going to feel good. All right, so we're going to bring the knees into the chest. Hands come behind the knees to protect the knees from hyperextension. And maybe just kind of rock that lower back into the floor. Be your own little massage here today. Just massage it, maybe make little circles. Getting those lower backs into the floor. We're gonna take one leg, doesn't matter which one, just put it down on the floor and lift the opposite leg. Just a little quick stretch here. If you want more of an IT band emphasis, we're just gonna guide that leg across the body just a couple of inches, doesn't have to go far. It's especially great if you're a runner, if you do any cycling, you need to really stretch IT band. And then we're going to bend that knee, and we're just going to keep coming all the way over with it. So rotating all the way into a spinal twist here, and then opening up our arms so that we can keep both shoulders on the floor, the chest is towards the ceiling. Nice twist here. Using our core muscles, we're going to come back into the middle, and then we're going to get that opposite leg. So stretching out, top leg. Maybe if you need a little bit more stretch today, you can extend that bottom leg, if that feels good. You may be guiding that top leg over just a little. It shouldn't take much. Literally like about 3 inches over, and I can feel it stretching it completely differently. And then when you're ready, we'll bend that knee, rotate it all the way over, opening up those arms. Big spinal twist. Maybe your knee touches the floor, maybe it doesn't. Just whatever's feeling good now, just get that twist in there. All right, so we're going to rotate back to the middle, use the core. One final super sexy stretch. Andrew, you may want to cut this one out. 2-piece on fingers. It's not going to be our most glamorous pose of the day. Toes. Grab those big toes. We're going to open up to dead bug. It's got to be the least attractive, but it's one of the most effective stretches. I love this stretch so much. So if you can drop your tailbone to the floor, in case your hips are coming up, drop your tailbone to the floor and see if you can press the knees towards the floor on the outside of your body. Really breathing through that pose. If you want more, you can always extend the legs into that straddle split, allowing gravity to kind of help you really stretch those inner thighs. Lower back is still staying on the floor. If you don't want to extend the legs, you don't have to. It still feels good either way. This is also a great one to do if you have a wall at home that's big enough for you to just put your legs up the wall and do this and let gravity help you relieve some of that pressure. Keep your legs on the wall the whole time. It really feels good. It's also great for hypertension. It's great for bad backs, all of the things. So we're going to go ahead and bring those knees into the chest. Maybe rock that ball a little bit, just back and forth. And then we're going to start extending the legs all the way out to the ends of our mat for Shavasana. So Shavasana is corpse pose. So we're going to do our final relaxation breathing here, just like we started the class. So in the beginning of the class, we started in Tadasana, which is our standing mountain pose. So the palms of the hands are forward towards the ceiling. Your feet are relaxed. Our knees are relaxed. And we're going to just close our eyes and see if we can come into our body. So especially if there are distractions around you, if you can hear other people, you can hear kids, you can hear dogs, you can hear whatever. It's really important to just bring your awareness to the mat and to your body and just start breathing that box breath once again. So inhaling slowly, letting it just kind of hang out at the top of that breath. And as you exhale slowly, allow your body to sink a little bit deeper into the mat. Just letting your body be heavy and relaxed. Maybe now would be a good time to come back to that intention statement, your word of resolve. Taking just a few moments here for yourself. This may be all you get today, and it should be worth it. So make sure all of your breath slow and intentional. And I'll bring us back in just a few moments. It won't be long, but just hang out and just concentrate on that breath. toes once again, clenching your fists, maybe rotating our ankles. Keeping your eyes closed and your breath still smooth and slow. We can start rolling over onto one side if you want, just kind of pausing briefly. Just kind of becoming aware of the room once again. Still keeping our minds centered on the mat. After a couple breaths here, you can push up with those arms into a comfortable seated position, whatever seated position feels good to you. So let's just roll our shoulders back for a second and maybe rock the head from back to forward, side to side. Noticing any areas of our body that are still holding on to some kind of tension or muscular soreness. And just acknowledging those areas of our body that we want to be gentle with today. One more deep breath in. We're going to bring our hands all the way up and over the head. Fingers come together, thumbs come together. Bringing our hands down towards the body, all the way to heart center. And this is where we finish. Namaste. Thank you guys for joining us. Y'all are beautiful and capable and strong, and we do this for y'all. We selfishly get a lot out of it as well, but thank y'all so much for joining us. If you're joining this workout either now or later, we'd love to hear what you think. Tag us on Instagram, tag us on Facebook. We want to give you more of what y'all want, so we're very open to your feedback. We've got some really fun things in the works coming up for SheMoves, so you guys stay tuned for what's next. So I'm gonna have to do it myself. Thank y'all.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you later. You're gonna have to stop recording because I don't know how.
Oh, I got it.
Good job, y'all. Thanks, Jessica.